I'll try to troubleshoot it as we go.
Maybe you're set up as the host.
His name on the black square, though. It would be my name if he was the host.
No, I'm just thinking of in the way that the meeting, the Zoom's set up on his laptop. Maybe you need to look at the Zoom settings.
Yeah, I tried that, and my video's on. I don't see any other settings that would control my video.
I'm going to go into you and see what I see. No.
Well, let's get started.
Yeah, yeah, we should
You
get
can see
started
us,
here.
right, ma'am?
Pardon me?
See us.
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, so let's just go with you as being a nice black square.
I'm just wondering about communication, Liam, if, just pipe up if you want to say something, I guess, and, or you can put the manual hand up. Do you have that on there?
Yes, I have.
He's got
all
the participants, so we can put the little blue hand up.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
either or, but just speak up because we won't be able to see you there.
Yeah.
All right. Steph, you all ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome everybody. The Community Center Select Steering Committee meeting of Friday, December the 4th. Glad to have you all here. It's just before we get going here, we'd like to welcome a couple of new members now. First of all, Gillian Drake, of course, our new municipal head of recreation and what is it here?
Community services.
Manager of community services. And so very valuable and very important job as we move forward. The culmination here, or not the culmination, but at least the progress under the community center. And Rob Gloor, who's chair of the Hearth board, and he's joining Jamie Sheffer. And again, very welcome to both of you. Your value, the expertise that you bring forward to this is going to be very important. And as we move forward here and the rubber hits the road, it's going to be busy days. So thank you very much. Now the other question is, does everybody know everybody here? Do we have to go through are you comfortable, Rob? I think you know everybody. Jillian, how about you?
I do. It's great. Thank you.
Okay.
I either know of everyone or know them directly.
Well, Sam, I don't know if you've met Sam before, and Drew Rose, Craig Burns, both the project managers here, and the design team. Anybody else that looks unfamiliar to you?
Who are you?
Pardon me?
Drew
I've
said,
not had
who
the
are
pleasure
you?
of meeting. Oh,
Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
no, I was just saying I haven't had the pleasure of meeting David or Rob yet, but.
Oh, you haven't either? Oh, okay. Wow. Very good. Okay, so
Good time.
Bob, Jamie, good. Okay, so we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Late items, Steph, anything?
I've got nothing.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add into the current posted agenda here? If not, I will move to adopt the agenda. And a second. Thank you, David. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and then we'll move on to the adoption of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance? Steph got them out there. They're both with the main agenda and they were sent separately also, but has everybody had a chance to go through there? Is there any glaring problems or anything that they'd like to voice? Otherwise, I'll move to adopt the. Allison?
I have to confess, I haven't read them.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay,
You
thank
have
you,
two
David.
copies.
I know.
No, that's the code.
Okay, and it's moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and so I'm going to move public comments. I don't see anybody. Emily
No public.
Sider. Is that a?
No, Emily's are with the design team.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Emily. Of course. And okay, so we'll move right into the action items. And Sam, are you going to look after those, or who's? Who's looking after those?
Action items from September 22nd.
Yes.
There was two, and they're on page 8 of 16 of the agenda material, if people are looking for where those materials are. There was resolutions which were actionable, which included the amendment of a community terms of reference. And
I did that.
that was done. And there was also the extension of the fundraising coordinator contract, and Jacqueline Massey is here with us. So both of those are complete.
It's been extended.
I do see also we have action items remaining from the August 24th meeting with Raj, an email for fundraising costs to date to the CCSSC. I believe that email did go out, and we could probably cross that off. I hope everyone received that information. Then there is action items going back all the way to July, which seems like not too long ago, but maybe it is a long time ago already. For materials on schedule, which we're going to talk about today. There has been schedule information on today's agenda, and action for Raj for reconciling the discrepancies between the various versions of the budget, and I believe all that was also done. I think that was actually probably done before September, but I think, Steph, we could probably cross all those items off our action log.
Excellent.
Unless anyone had any questions or added materials to that.
Any questions, anybody?
I'll have to go back and find where Raj sent us all that stuff, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Is that
Okay.
from the August meeting or from the July meeting, Allison?
July.
Okay. Well, we'll bring it back if need be, if you can't find it. Okay, so we'll move on, and thank you very much, Sam. We'll move on to the business arising from the minutes, which is a draft memorandum of understanding for the development, management, and use of the Bowen Island Community Center. And who's going to head that, Liam, or who?
Yeah,
It should be either the from Hearth.
Liam, you do it.
Yeah. We totally lost Liam.
This is sort of housekeeping at this point because it was,
Yeah, we're definitely not going to go through it. Everybody's approved it, and it's a wonderful piece of work. And the recommendation is that the Community Center Select Steering Committee recommend that council direct staff to execute the project memorandum of understanding for the development, management, and use of the Bowen Island Community Center between the Bowen Island Municipality and the Hearth, as presented at its December 4th, 2020 meeting. I'm moving that.
Second.
Thank you very much, David. All in favor? Any comments first before we move on? I don't think so. I think this is a perfect.
oh,
Okay, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you very much, everybody. There was a lot of effort put into that. Going down to new business, schedule update. And that is over to you, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. So since we all last departed and had some conversations about some successful referendums occurring and planning out the remainder of the design to bring us to market and tender, the project management team, the design team went away to revalidate and look at our work plan and the work required to complete to be compliant with the grant contract and requirements of the grant, as well as looking at those few remaining percentages of completing the contract documents to go to tender. And there were some notable challenges with just completing the documents with the design that had been brought to building permit in 2018. because of the duration that had elapsed since the 2018 building permit application. And as such, we took it upon ourselves as a team to do a gap analysis between what was ready to be completed and what needed to be improved to be compliant with grant expectations, building code requirements, code changes, and went through a series of design review steps. One of the drivers that's very important is accessibility to the facility. And those standards have changed significantly, as well as the grant requirements are looking for the best in class for a public realm facility such as this. So with those elements of the facility as drivers for schedule change, we've actually now done some analysis that we'd like to review the scenario options in the closed meeting. But those are driving a schedule delay because there are some significant changes and impacts to the base facility as it was planned, and we would like to review those with you. Right now, it's not a hard and fast schedule change or date, but we have slipped about 3 months. And depending on the actions we take as a group to move the project forward in one direction or another after a review of some options, that we'll be able to be more clear in terms of what the exact substantial completion date would be. So that's the schedule update right now. It's primarily the drivers to schedule change. We don't have a firm and fixed schedule completed to share with you all here right now, unfortunately, but I'm sure with some work together, we'll be able to get to the communication of a firm and fixed schedule shortly.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam. I guess that, we are obviously pressing to get it in there as early as we could in the spring, just because of the availability of builders and that sort of thing and the COVID situation. So that will affect that to a certain extent, I guess. Like, what do you think about tender now? I mean, just right
now, it will be spring to summer of next year is
okay.
the range we're looking at. So it's not too far off track. Yeah, it just depends on where we take it from here. It's our worst case scenario would be looking like summer. Yeah. 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
Gary?
As opposed to spring.
Yeah. Allison, go ahead.
Sam, when you say worst case scenarios or spring to summer, are you meaning having the tenders complete and contract awarded by the end of the summer, or
tender release?
Yeah. Out and the end of
tender release and tender close would be based on the scenarios, Allison. It would be both of those dates are still hold true with somewhere between a 4 and 5 week tender process.
It's one of the things we found out with the fire hall was sending the tender documents out when everybody's busy is that you get what I'll call WAG quotes.
I think the market will be busy in 2021. It will be stable in that busyness. I don't think we will find a period of necessary peaks in 2021.
So you're saying everybody's going to be busy working equally throughout the 12-month period?
I think right now that's what it's looking like. There isn't a planned escalation throughout 2021 in the construction market. It's a flat escalation plan for 2021 in the Vancouver market, Lower Mainland Metro Vancouver market.
So our issue with them all being too busy to respond to tenders with the fire hall was not relevant for the community center.
I think it's still important to get to market as soon as possible. Yeah. And to alleviate any cost pressures due to delay escalations. So the team is still working as quickly as practical to get to market as soon as possible. But but we have to do the correct design to meet code requirements, grant requirements, and other operating needs of the facility.
So I'm getting tired of getting the questions, well, when are you going to break ground and when are you going to get started and when are we going to see the tenders and why is this taking so long as usual? So is there some little communication piece we could do that would get this out to the community as to, you know,
I think so.
why
I
we
think
haven't issued the tenders by now?
I think that's a great suggestion, Allison. And after the closed meeting, I think we'll have a better understanding of what that message would be and what that option is.
And if I could jump in, it's Liam here. Yeah, and we are working on that messaging right now. And so Sophie and Jackie and Gillian have been turning their minds to that, and we'll share that around. And you know, at the risk of being a little bit cheeky, is you know, it is a construction project, and so we do know that they are often saddled with challenges. We are trying hard to foresee as many of those challenges as we can, but you know, we're going to be subject to unforeseen delays, and so that's just part of the nature of a large project like this. I do believe that we're still in a good position. I know that a lot of the competition from the other funding projects in the same program that we're funded through are also not anywhere ready to be tendering either, and so we're not actually behind the 8 ball. We're still in a good position.
I think we're all on the same wave.
Yeah. And I think we're even though we've done a bit of reworking and we didn't get out as quickly as we'd like to, I still think that we may even be a little bit further in front of that wave than some.
True. Well, that's good news. Okay, well, if there's any further discussion, we'll take it into the closed and we'll move on. Thanks again, Sam. And so 6.2 is a fundraising update from Jackie Massey, the fundraising coordinator. Jackie, over to you.
Thanks, Gary. Nice to see everyone. Yeah,
Nice to see you.
so just run over a bit of a review over an update in terms of what's been happening in the last few months. Of course, we continue to call in pledges, and I'm happy to report a really good response to date with money rolling in, as well as positive notes from supporters who are happy to see the project moving forward. As you may recall, we have commitments totaling about $1,278,000 for the capital project and about 1.2 for the endowment fund. And we've been in communication with the Community Foundation regarding those pledges that are coming through that organization. And of course, these donations include a number of major anonymous donors, and we have been in communication with them as well, discussing the details of their gifts. We're exploring right now the potential for implementing the donor recognition and naming policy, hopefully attracting some additional donations through that opportunity of naming rights for both rooms and equipment. And stewardship of donors and supporters is ongoing with continued communications regarding updates on the project, including these communications messaging that Allison, you're referring to. And while it is still very early in the planning stages, discussions regarding the donor recognition initiative has centered around creating both indoor signage acknowledging our donors, as well as outdoor public art installation. So currently the budget for the donor recognition piece, including communications, design, manufacturing, installation, and the capital costs is around $16,000. So in discussions with the project management team, it's been suggested that the donor recognition initiative be managed as a separate project with a separate project budget. Rationale for this is that it would allow for potential funding from other sources just beyond the capital budget, and it would just take it out of the capital budget. So of course, even if the donor recognition initiative is deemed a separate project, it would still need to proceed in tandem with planning and construction of the community center, and of course with direction and input from the project management team and committee. but it also allow for the Public Art Advisory Committee to play a role, and they could play a really important role in this. So if the committee gives its consent, we'd like to move forward with this as soon as possible, potentially with a workshop in the new year to develop a vision, a strategy, and budget for the initiative. So it's something I'd like to bring forward for the committee to consider. And finally, I just want to mention that we have met with members of the finance department to review the fundraising budget and the targets and looking at fundraising goals. And we are developing strategies to ensure those goals are met. So that's it. If you have any questions for me, or as I say, would like the committee to consider that proposal to bring the donor recognition initiative outside of the main capital fundraising project.
All right. Thanks very much, Jackie. And I think that would be very worthwhile. We'll have to sort of see some more nuts and bolts on it, how it would all work and that sort of thing. Have you done any work on that yet?
Well, just kind of considering the process. So what we've talked about, Lucy, and obviously open for any input or comments on this, but we'd start with this workshop in ideally January. And I think it would involve probably key members of the project management team. I think, Sam, we've talked about you being there because we need to look at the scope of this project. Members of the Public Art Advisory Committee who would be on board, as well as any other committee members who would like to be part of that. So again, that initial workshop would really develop a strong vision, a sense of scope, look at potential options, and we probably bring those forward for consideration and make some general decisions, which would probably then go back to the committee. Again, this is just the way I've been thinking about it in my head. So that would be come back to the committee to look at from their perspective, obviously a review of a budget, and also we'd have to determine where we'd find resources to ensure that budget's met, and proceed forward from there. Again, working closely with that project management team because of their needed input in terms of footprint and size and location and
Infrastructure.
other details.
We talked about aligning the infrastructure and the look and feel and access of the public realm so that we're all still a cohesive site development, but just having some specialty input to that process.
Absolutely.
Allison?
You're on mute.
I'm not.
You are not now.
You must have muted me, staff.
There was music playing in the background. I muted most of you.
Because I don't know who's playing the music. It's not me. Anyhow, I'm totally confused. Are we talking, is the suggestion that outside public art should be part of the donor recognition program?
Well, the idea of a donor recognition initiative or installation could take the form of public art. And often does. I mean, if you can envision in some buildings, you've seen an outdoor installation with stepping stones or with landscaping integrated with a sculpture. So
you're talking about an indoor and an outdoor recognition project?
Yes, that's what's keeps popping up, that we'd have something indoors that would be more probably plaque or something engraving with, again, I don't want to go into details because it hasn't been determined yet, but something in the indoor and then also outside that maybe is also interactive for people using the space. And I think, Gillian, you had an idea when we were talking about this in terms of how to make that space more accessible and livable with some kind of a installation that also is thanking our donors. So I think that there's a lot of potential, and I'm not giving you a lot of details at this point, but we come back to the committee with those, sketched out.
I'm, as you all know, not a fan of making decisions on the fly when something's dropped on table in front of you with no written backup report or anything. So I don't mind if they want to, explore the idea a little bit, but unless somebody's willing to donate all the money for the outside project, I don't think we as a municipality or whatever should spend any more than what's needed for a good looking, nice I like the one up in Gibson's in the market. Nothing to do with the fact that it was a friend of mine that was behind it all. No, so our budget's going to be tight and we shouldn't commit any money. Definitely we need donor recognition and we've done the policy. What that donor recognition inside is going to look like so that it lasts forever. I don't know, but I don't think an outside art installation, we don't have enough money for that.
And just to clarify, the idea is to take it out of the capital funding budget that we would. So there's potential money within the Public Art Advisory Committee budget, but there's also grants that would apply to this type of initiative. And we would, and again, one of the benefits of taking outside of the community center capital budget is that those stacking requirements as part of the federal provincial grant would not apply if it was a separate project. So we could look at potential funding through, there's BC Arts Council for sure, but also there's other potential look at county council.
So I guess just to add, my other concern is at this point, we're probably going to need some more money, and I would prefer that our efforts were focused on attracting more money for the build campaign, not public art can be added once the building's finished. I would like to see our efforts going on towards raising money to actually get the facility built. So, and even the plaque, I know in Gibson's, I think they designed that afterwards. It wasn't put up the day the building opened. So, yeah.
I take your points into consideration, Allison, and I agree. But I would like to investigate this if we could. Just move it along to the next step. I agree. There's not enough information here, but if it would allow more grant money to come in for and that sort of thing because of its independence, and I think it's worthwhile taking a look at. But I think we should have a look at it. And if everybody was in favor, I would like to just recommend that we investigate this process and bring it back to the committee if everybody's okay with that.
Are you going to ask for a formal vote? Because I'm voting no, because I don't want time detracted from getting money to build the facility. Okay. All right.
So Gary.
Or David, or Rob first and then David. Sorry, David, I should have got you first there.
Okay, let Rob go.
I just would say that if the principle is to carve out the donor recognition piece as something that could be funded on its own terms and separate from the rest of the project, but that it also can be a part of the strategy for raising funds, because there's a high profile way of recognizing the generous donations. I don't see a risk of resources in investigating further and coming back with a little bit more detailed proposal.
Okay, thank you, Rob. My thoughts, David?
Yeah, basically the same. I mean, I aligned with Allison to some degree. I mean, generally, when you're doing fundraising, you want to keep what you can call your admin costs as small as possible, or your proportion as small as possible. And this would really be an admin cost of the fundraising in a sense. And so separating it off, I've got some difficulty with. But I do like Jackie's ideas of, looking at the public art work that we've got a budget for that's already sitting there, and aligning it with that in some way or another. So I'll go along with where you are, Gary, and Rob is, okay, let's investigate this a bit further. But like Allison, I'm a bit worried about setting up another fundraising stream rather than putting the money at the at the facility. However, as Rob says, if it does allow us to get some, other grant money from someplace, okay, that's worth exploring. Sure. Okay. So thanks.
Okay, thanks, David. Steph, did you put anything together for a little recommendation there?
That the committee resolved to investigate the idea of separating the donor recognition initiative from the community center fundraising project,
From a capital.
project.
Yeah. And what was the first part of that?
The committee resolved to investigate the idea of separating the donor recognition initiative or program from the community center fundraising capital project.
And so who's going to do that? The fundraising coordinator? Jackie?
Yeah, and
Can you just put that in can you just put that in at the beginning there, that the fundraising coordinator do this?
Okay.
I've
She's
just got
gonna
a question. I'm not crazy about the words. It just sounds like what we're trying to do is, find another budget for something. I'd rather it said something like that the fundraising coordinator explore options for options for donor recognition that might and then get to what some of the advantages are, getting other grants or something like that. In other words, this is exploring opportunities for donor recognition that take advantage of or something like that, rather than starting by saying we want a different budget for this. I just don't like the sound of that.
No, certainly not. That'll be something that they'll bring back. And there isn't going to be another budget for it, but a whole bunch of people, if you can coordinate people getting together and see if this will work and see if it's productive and the main drive of moving the community center is not affected, because that's one of Allison's concerns. I
Improve the fundraiser
same wavelength here. Go ahead, Steph.
Fundraiser coordinator exploring opportunities for donor recognition that may take advantage of, what was the list? Separate funding.
Grant funding and more funding. I guess more funding, including grant funding, something like that.
Additional granting.
And maybe private
This is exactly why we should have had a written report and a draft resolution of what we were supposed to.
Well,
Liam, go ahead.
So I guess, I think maybe we weren't quite ready to bring it forward as a recommendation for actual action, rather than something that we're exploring. And, I may have brought it up initially as this notion when we started discussing donor recognition, because I thought, well, we want to make sure that we have really, really good and excellent recognition for our donors to this project, and that it can be really helpful to isolate that allocation to that part of the project, so that it's not at risk if we start getting into cost constraints with the project itself. And so that's how the idea came up in the beginning, was to make sure that the donor recognition piece was secure and wasn't going to be, inadvertently eroded by encroachment from the capital needs of the project. And, and then other ideas started to come out of that. And I think today we just wanted to bring it forward as, hey, this is something that we've been thinking about. Maybe we need to just continue to have the dialogue in an informal way at our project management team level, bring it back in the new year with a more formalized recommendation with some paper in that way.
All right. So you don't think we need a recommendation going forward, or do you think should put something there? Liam?
Well, I think that we at the project management team, we're tasked with taking on the donor recognition piece regardless of whether it's separated or not. And so I think maybe it's better that we don't even make a recommendation right now, and we just continue to explore that. And when we've got a clearer picture and a nice tight recommendation to bring, we'll bring that back to the committee.
Okay,
Great.
we'll just leave it at that then.
Yeah.
Jackie, go ahead.
Or just to reiterate what Liam has said, and just also, Allison, it was my intention to ask the committee to pass a resolution today. It was more to get your comments, input, and guidance in terms of moving forward on this. So thank you for that. And yeah, it was not, I didn't have that sense that I was bringing forward something you had to approve or disapprove of. It was just more of to gain some direction from you all. And I think we have achieved that. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say there's a positive move to positive thought to move this forward and see where it ends up and then bring it to the next meeting. That's great. Thanks, Jackie. All right. And 6.3 is moved to a closed meeting, and the recommendation is that the Community Center Select Steering Committee move to a closed meeting pursuant to sections 90-1K of the community charter meetings that may or must be closed to the public. That's K, and 90-1 and 90-K. Is that all of them? Yeah. So I'll move that. Second. Thanks, David. All in favor, aye. All right. Okay. So some information items after that. The next meeting, we want to do that now, or do you want to do that in the close?
Does it matter?
Everybody feel?
Closed, I guess.
Sure. Let's do it in the close and see